All right, let's say x and y are positive integers. That means they don't have decimals. And such that xy, that means the product of x and y, equals 64. What's the positive difference between the maximum and the minimum possible values of x plus y? So in other words, they multiply to give us 64. So we could think of, we could just do the factor tree of 64, which would be 1 and 64, 2 and 32. But there's a pattern here I want you to see. 4 and 16. And rather than doing all these, I want you to see something. If you take the factor pair of the greatest and smallest numbers, 64 and 1, those add up to, so in other words, if we called 1x and we called 64y, those would add up to 65. Because 64 plus 1 is 65. Now, what if we would do numbers that are closer together, like 2 and 32? Those only add up to 34. So the pattern is, the further apart they are, the greater their sum. So the maximum is just going to be the 1 plus the 64. So our maximum value is 65. Now our minimum value is if they're closer together. So the min is what factors of 64 are really close together. Well, 64 is a perfect square, so I know 8 and 8. 8 times 8 is going to give us 64. So that's as close as we can get together for the factors. So our minimum, if we added up 8 plus 8, 8 plus 8 gives us 16. And now it wants the positive difference between these two numbers. So just 65 minus 16, which is going to give us 49. All right, so let's recap for a second. We were looking for the product, or numbers that we could multiply to get 64. And it wants the maximum, so that's the factor pair that's furthest apart, and you always want to use 1 there, so it's 1 in that number. And then the minimum, which is the numbers that are closest together. And since it's a perfect square, you just use that number 8 in this case. If it would have been 25, we would have used the square root of 25, which is 5. So, and we just add up those two factors, so 8 plus 8 is 16. 1 plus 64 gives us 65, subtract to get 49. All right, I want you to try one on your own now. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and try this one. You want to do the same thing, but it's if x and y equals 81. All right, let's go ahead and check what you have. Well, for the max, 1 times 81, and then it says that we want to add these up, so 1 plus 81 gives us 82 for your max. And then for your min, it's just, since it's a perfect square, it's just 9 times 9. That's as close as we can get the factors together, so that's our minimum sum. And 9 plus 9 gives us 18 for our min. And then it says positive difference, so we just take our max minus our min, and the max minus the min in this case is going to be 82 minus 18, and that gives us 64. Hopefully that's what you got. If not, watch it again.